Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the channel. In this video, I want to show you how you can build up a video player on iOS that takes in a M3U8 link like that over here. So as you can see on my screen, I have this Bloomberg, all right, whereby I think this is also known as IPTV. So I'm going to show you what it does, okay? So if I'm going to copy one of these links over here, so I'm just going to paste this inside in our app. So this is the version that is already being built. So we'll learn how to build something like that on Xcode. And also we will separate the video in a different framework. All right. So in this video, you're going to learn how you can create independent frameworks as well. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the play button and let's see what we see over here. So we see the video player loading. And then, yep. All right, Cathy Woods, yay! I'll invest. Okay, not a Tesla fan though, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna start to show you how we can build something like that. All right, so I'm gonna stop the video right now, and if I am to come to some of this free, okay, if I'm to type like free M3U8 streams, all right, you'll see one of this a link being popped up over here, which is this guy over here, I believe. All right, so let's see if this is the one. Yeah, so you see you're able to like test out these samples as well. So if I'm to just maybe copy this one over here, okay, let's have a look. Pretty sure we'll see something, some kind of anime, I guess. All right, guys. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to just open a brand new xcode. So if you are interested, you can just follow along. So a new project. Okay, so let's start with a very basic iOS app. Okay, let's call this iOS streaming video app, something like that. Okay, it doesn't really matter the name. I'm going to save this on my desktop. Okay, so hit the create button. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is that, rather than building the video player directly into our main app, I want to create a framework, okay? And we are going to call this framework, maybe let's call this a video streaming kit or something like that, okay? All right, so let's come over here to this site, and I'm going to hit the plus button over here, and I'm going to go to iOS. And then, oops, is this correct? Sorry guys, let me just have a quick look. Oops, this is incorrect. My bad guys, let's do that again. Project. All right, so I should be selecting this one instead. I made the same mistake just now, so I was just checking for that. So pardon me guys. So it's iOS streaming video app, and I'm gonna delete that folder on my desktop first so I don't get any problems. Okay, just like that over here. Okay guys, so let's maybe just run this on an iPhone 12 Pro Max maybe. Okay, so to just ensure that everything works over here. Okay, build succeeded. Okay guys, so the first thing I want to do is to create a framework. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is that come over to the project. And then let's hit on this plus button over here. So for some of you guys who are not aware or who have never done something like a framework is basically just to separate your code. Okay, so let's assume that you have several parts of your app that requires the video player. You are able to separate them using different frameworks, and if your team has multiple people, you potentially can have a team of people just working on a framework. All right, so I'm just going to show you a very simple example of how we can do that. All right, so framework just like that. Okay, so let's select framework, and then let's call this maybe streaming kit. Okay, let's just call this anything you want. Okay, streaming kit sounds cool, so I'm gonna call it like that. Hit the finish button. All right, so as you can see right now, we have another folder over here that says streaming kit, and the first thing we want to do is that we need to be able to expose these files to our main app. So what we need to do is to come over here, okay, and then let's expand this one over here and ensure that this is public. Okay, great, it's already public, that's good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is that we want to build out the player. So let me make this a bit bigger. Okay, so let me just have a look at my source file. Okay, Okay, this is my source file. I'm gonna hide that because you don't need to see that. We're gonna build that from scratch. So I'm gonna create this new file over here. So let's select a Swift file and let's call this video player. Okay, so let's hit the, okay, so ensure that this check mark is on the kit itself, on this, sorry, it's on this framework itself and not our main app. Okay, so let's hit the create button. Okay, so I'm going to create a class here. So class video player. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so now we are able to access this video player from our main app itself. Okay, so as you can see, if I come over here, okay, so let's create, let's do private let video player equals to video player. Okay, maybe let's call this streaming video player. All right, streaming video player. Okay, save it. I'm just gonna copy this, come back here, and then I'm just gonna paste this over here, and I'm gonna hit the play button, and notice that we're gonna get a problem over here. It says that, hey, we cannot find this streaming video player in scope. Okay, usually what that means is that we have not imported something, or we have not, you know, added the framework. So what we need to do is to add this streaming kit framework into our main app. Okay, so the way we do that is to come over here and select our main target. All right, so this is the target that contains our app, and we need to come over to this frameworks library and embedded content, and oh, it looks like we already have that already. Streaming kit is inside. Okay, so that should be fine. Sometimes it doesn't appear here, then you have to just add this inside yourself. All right, so it's already added, so I don't need to do anything over here. Okay, so now the problem remains. Why I can't find this is because I have not imported streaming kit. Okay, and then notice that even when I import that, if I hit the play button, I'm not able to compile the app. And what is the problem? It's because we have not exposed this class to be public. Okay, so if we are to create a class over here, let's say streaming video player 2, for example. Okay, I think this will work. And let me just run this. Okay, guys. Whoops, not like that. Okay, just like that. Streaming video player. Streaming. Oh, guys, come on. Okay, if I'm to run like that, it's going to work. Why? It's because this class is within the same scope. Okay, it's not because this is inside the same file. Even if I create another file within the project, this is going to work. But because streaming video player is outside of the project scope, and therefore we have to make the class public. Alright, so if I'm to run again, this will not work. But if I come back over here, video player, and maybe let's just rename this as streaming video player. Alright, I need to do public over here. And I believe this still will not work. Why? It's because we are initializing this. Alright, so notice that this is inaccessible due to the internal protection level. Alright, internal, yeah. So this scope is actually internal. Okay. So let's come over to the streaming video player, and we need to create a public initializer. So just like that. So now when we come back over here, when we hit the play button, I believe this should work now. Alright, so what this means is that, if we have separate teams, right, the other team could just be working purely on this, making the player as wonderful as possible, while another team could be working on the main app itself. Alright, I'm not going to really go into that, but just for your information. Okay, so the next thing is that I want to create the UI first, and then we will add the implementation over here. So I'm going to just run my, this is the finished version. So let me just open this, and then let's see what we can do for the UI over here. So I'm going to make this really simple. We're going to have a UI view in the middle. It's a square. We have a text view, 3 buttons over here that says play, stop, and clear. All right, so let's get started. So let's come over to the main.storyboard, and we're just going to work with this. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to bring in the UI view. So just plus UI view. Let's bring that in. All right. Okay, so let's have 16 on each side, maybe. Okay, uncheck that. And then I want to center this vertically. So let's come over here. And then I want to make this a square. So the way to do that is to set a ratio. Okay, so I'm going to hold to the control button, click, drag, release, and select aspect ratio. And then right now, if I come to this size inspector, I should see the aspect ratio. Okay, right now it's 191 to 64. Yours will look very different, but we can just change this to 1 to 1. Okay, so once this is done, we'll be able to see a square. And to make the visuals easier, let's just set this to maybe a system gray color so we can see that. Okay, so what else do we need to do? We can add a text view and 3 buttons over here. So what I'll do is to create a stack view. Okay, so we want a vertical stack view. Let's put that at the top somewhere over here. Oops. Okay, and then let's add some constraints. I'm not going to set the height because I'm going to let it be dynamic. I'm just going to chuck in those components, and I think the height will settle itself. So again, 16 on each sides. And from the bottom, maybe let's have it as maybe 24 should be fine. Okay, so just like that. Hit the add 3 constraints button. Okay, it's going to complain, but not to worry. I'm going to bring in a text view. So UI text view. Drag that in. Okay, so we have a text view over here, and then I need those 3 buttons over here. So what I'm going to do is to bring in another stack view, but this time it'll be a horizontal stack view. Okay, so I want to make sure that I place that below the text view, and then within this stack view, I'm going to just set the distribution to be equal. All right, so as you can see over here, the buttons are all equal, and then let's just bring in those buttons. Okay, so button, I'm going to drag that inside this horizontal stack view, and then I'm just going to change this to play. Okay, and then let's make this a bit bigger. So let's change the font to maybe, I don't need to do, okay, maybe just this one. Let's go with semi-bold, and then let's go with maybe 18. Okay, I think that should be fine. And I want to change a color, so I'm going to change the background to green. Okay, so green is play, right? And text color, let's change that to white. Okay, so it's going to look like that. And I'm going to duplicate these buttons by just holding on to the alternate button, click and just drag like that. Okay, so the last one is clear. I don't need any color, so I'm just going to change the text to clear, and then remove the background color to default. And then for the text color, I'm just going to set this to black. All right, just like that. And for the stop button, I'm going to change the text like that. I'm going to change the background color to maybe yellow, so to give it some kind of separation. And maybe I'm going to add some spacing as well. Maybe 16 will be good. All right, just like that. And then vertically, let's have some spacing as well. So maybe let's bring in 16 as well. So just like that. Okay, so maybe let's also have a placeholder. Let's call this enter URL here, just like that. Okay, and let's make this a bit bigger, just like that. Style, let's have it a semi-bold as well. Okay, so pretty simple stuff over here. Let's just run this to ensure that it's running correctly on the simulator. All right, so build succeeded. Let's have a look. Okay, pretty similar. All right. I think the text view can be a bit bigger, but I don't think that's so important now. Okay, so let's also add in some of the IB outlets so that it'll be easier for us subsequently. So what do we need? We need the text view, an instance of the text view. So IB outlet, weak var, let's call this text view, UI text view, like that. What else do we need? We need the that gray color view, or rather we call this a video view, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, maybe to make this simple, I'm just going to call this a gray view. Okay, gray view. So this will be of type UI view. So we also need a couple of IB functions. So IB actions, I mean. Okay, so we have play button tab. Okay, what else do we need? We need 3 different buttons, right? So we need the stop button tab as well, and we need the clear button tab. Okay, so let's hook up the IB actions and the functions. So let's come back to the main.storyboard. Just right click, and then let's have the gray view. Let's have the text view. Let's have the clear button tab. So it'll be touch up inside, play button tab, this one here, touch up inside. So the lastly will be the stop button, touch up inside. And maybe for this text view, I want to make it a bit bigger. So maybe for the height, let's set this to be 40. Okay, so I think it looks pretty nice now. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is that we're going to come to the streaming video player over here, and then we need a couple of things over here. All right, so we need an instance of the AV player view controller. But first we need to import some things over here. So let's import UIKit. We also need to import AV Foundation, all right, because these are all the frameworks that we need. So we are building on top of these frameworks. We also need AV Kit as well. I think maybe we don't need UIKit if we already have this two. I believe this two inherits UIKit, so I think I can just comment this and see if this will still compile later. Okay, so we need an instance of the player view controller. So let's do private let player view controller. So this will be AV player view controller, just like that. Okay, let me just bring this to the side. Okay, we don't need this anymore. Okay, what else? Okay, and then I want to get the player view as well. So private lazy var. So let's call this the player view, UI view. So this player view is basically the view of this view controller. All right, so I'm going to do let view equals to player view controller dot view. And then if I'm to alternate click over here, this shows me a question mark. So I'm going to force unwrap this because I know that this will definitely be there. And then because I'm going to work with auto layout, I have to set, I'm going to work with auto layout via code. I need to set this property to false, okay, so that I can set the constraints later. And then I'm just going to simply return view and just make sure that I initialize this like that. Okay, so let's ensure that this is still compiling. Command R, still building. Okay, so that's great. Okay, I also need an instance of the AV player, so I'm going to do it like that as well. Okay, maybe let's do it this way. So private let AV player. This will be AV player. Okay, just like that. So I just need these three items to get it to work. Okay, so now we want to define our public interface. Okay, so mark, this will be the public interface. Okay, so basically this refers to the functions that we're exposing this class to. Okay, so what are the functions? So basically in your player, what are the functions do you expect? Okay, so we definitely expect to have a play function. Okay, we expect to have a pause function. So but when we play, we want to take in some kind of location or some kind of resource. Okay, so this will be a URL. Okay, so we'll add the implementation slightly later. And we also want to have a function called add. Okay, why is that so? It's because we want to add this streaming video player into any particular view inside our view controller. So let me show it to you what it means. Okay, so let me just type out the code first. So we are able to add this streaming video player to any view, any UI view. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. So view, which is this guy over here. So this is the parent view dot add subview. So what are we going to add? What is the subview? The subview is actually the player view over here. Okay, and then I'm going to add some constraints. So I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to say that the player view dot top anchor constraint to a view dot top anchor. All right, so basically I'm just going to pin it to all the sides. Okay, so I'm going to get a top, I'm going to get a leading anchor to leading anchor, bottom anchor to bottom anchor here, and finally trailing anchor. All right, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to come back over to the view controller. So let me see, is this how I should do it? Just let me quickly have a look at my my reference, because I kind of forgot how to do it. Okay, view deload. All right, so what's going to happen is that when we set up, when we load this view controller, we're going to set up this video player. Okay, so I'm just going to create a function over here, set up video player. Okay, and then let's create a private function over here, set up video player. So what I'm going to do is video player dot okay, so notice that I don't have any functions that I can call, and the reason is because I've not exposed them yet. So let's come back over here and then let's add public. Okay, since these are all the public interface and these are all private, so notice that we want to only allow this view controller to only have access to functions that we define as public in front. We don't want them we don't want the view controller to be able to mess, any of these settings over here. All right, so I'm going to just add a public over here, and then just Command R to build this. So I'm going to come back over here to the view controller, and then let's hit the dot button, and notice that I have all these public functions that's exposed to. So add to view. So what is the view that I want to add to? So I want to add to this gray view over here. All right. So what it means is that I want the video to be inside this view. So what this means is that you can basically define any UI view, set up your own constraints on the view controller and basically have the video be playing on any area of the screen, okay, which is pretty cool. All right, so over here, so if I want to hit the play button, I'm going to do video player dot play URL. So where do I get the URL from? I need to get it from the text field, right? So maybe we can do a simple guard statement. So guard let text equals to text field dot text, and then I need to ensure that this can be casted into a URL. So just like that. So I'm going to select the string, and I need to pass in the text. Okay, else return, and maybe we can also just print out something on the console like error passing URL, something like that. Okay, once this is done, I can just pass in the URL over here. Okay, I'm just gonna break this into a new line. Okay, so when we hit the stop button on the view controller, we're gonna maybe pause this. Okay, maybe I could call this pause button tab to make this consistent. All right, so just like that, pause button tab. Okay, and maybe let's do that on the UI as well. Okay, and the clear button. So what do I want to do when I clear? Basically, I want to clear the text view. So maybe let's do dot text equals to nil, and also maybe the video player. Let's just pause this as well. All right. So this is very simple. So as you can see over here in our view controller, we don't define all this, all this AV player layer. We don't import all the AV kit and all that. We keep things very, very clean. Okay. So what this means is that this kind of architecture is going to be very reusable. Okay, so let's come back to the video player. So this is the main meat of it. Okay, so let me just come back here and let me just see. Okay, all right, so there are a couple of things that we need to do over here. So when we hit the play button, we need to define some kind of asset. All right, so let asset equals to AV asset. Let's initialize this. So this takes in a URL. Okay, and then we need to create a player item. So let player item equals to AV player item. Okay, and then this takes in a, whoops, is this the one? This takes in an asset. Oh, I'm not sure whether can I do it this way instead, where this takes in a URL. Maybe I'll test this out later. Okay. All right, and then what I need to do is that I have to set the item of the AV player. So I'm going to use replace current item with. All right, guys, just give me a moment. Someone is at the door. All right, just hold on. Alright guys, I'm back. Alright, thanks for waiting. So player item, just like that. And then I'm going to do player view controller dot player equals to AV player. And then player view controller dot player dot play. Okay, just like that. And then if I want to pause, I simply do AV player dot pause. Alright, I believe that's all the code that we need. Actually, it's pretty simple. Okay. So I'm just going to run the code right now. So let's just run this. All right, so yeah, as we can see over here, we don't need UI kit, although we have UI view over here because, as mentioned, AV Foundation and AV Kit probably inherits UI kit anyway. Okay, so let's open this up. Okay, we have two over here. I believe this should be the one, 12 Pro Max, yeah, which is this guy over here. So right now, I'm going to just get a link. So let's bring in some links over here. So what I did was I did Bloomberg M3U8. Okay, so I searched for this, and then I think I came over here to this GitHub gist. So you can just do the same as well. So I just pick any of these links over here. I think you can experiment with any of this. So I'm going to do with the first one here. So just copy link address and then just paste this inside here. And let's see if this is working. Hopefully it does. Okay. So hit the play button and it's okay, cool. So this is working. You can expand this as well, I believe. All right. And then if you wanna like explore other links as well, feel free to come over here. I think it's called, I think you can just search like OTT verse M3U8, I think. Yeah, this one. Okay. Maybe let's look at I don't know, maybe this one. Copy link address, and then we can do a pause over here. Okay, do a clear. Let's come back here again. Let's paste this in, hit the play button, and I believe this should play. Alright guys, I hope that this has been helpful, and if you have any comments or questions, just feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll see you soon. Alright guys, cheers, see you, ciao.